Hey there, y'all. My youngest son and I did some shopping over the weekend, went to a bunch of half-price bookstores here in the area, and I came away with a bunch of great vinyl finds. Show you what I got. Coming right up. Stay where you are. Hey there, y'all. Tim Risto here, host of the Creative Christians Podcast, back again for another Tim Talks Christian Rock. I'm so glad that you chose to join me today for the show. May God bless your day. I hope it's a great day for you. Listen, today I'm going to start a new thing here on Tim Talks Christian Rock where I give you my lyric of the day. Anytime I do one of these videos, I'll start off with a lyric of the day. Just a lyric that has struck me as kind of unique and important from the lyrics of Christian rock. Just something that's kind of maybe hung with me. And today's lyric is this line here. All of us seem to spend too much time building dreams on sand. If you want to know which artist wrote that and which album it's from, stick around. We're going to cover it today. It's one of the albums I feature here today in this episode. So, as I mentioned at the top, my son and I went shopping over the weekend. Went to a bunch of half-price bookstores. I don't know if you have them in your area, but here in the South, they're pretty big. And my son went in search of anime or manga books. I, of course, went in search of vinyl. And when I go shopping, I often look for vinyl. I often look for a variety of different vinyls. Jazz music, soundtracks, sometimes just regular secular music. But of course, the biggest one I look for is Christian rock. And when I go to these half-price bookstores, they've got their clearance section of vinyl, right? They've got the wooden racks that they have the vinyl on up top, and then down below is all the clearance vinyl. That's usually anywhere from $1 to $4 a piece. Inevitably, I find something in that clearance section. I always start there. I go into these bookstores, and that's the first place I go. If it's not already crowded with people, is the clearance sections down below. And inevitably, I will always find something. And this trip, we went to, I think, three different half-price bookstores over the weekend, and I found a bunch of stuff at the very first one. I think I found stuff across two different half-price bookstores that we went to. But they were all $2 a piece. And there were some good finds here. So let's take a look at those, show you what I got. The first album up today is actually the first one that I found, and it kind of gave me an indication that it was looking to be a good day right from the start. And the first album up is Mylon Lefevre and Broken Hearts album More from, 1983. This is one I did not have in my collection. In fact, just recently I did a video all about Mylon Lefevre's remastered albums that just came out, Big World and Crank It Up. And at the end of that video, after I went through those remastered albums and CDs, I gave you an overview of all the Mylon Lefevre original vinyl that I actually own. This was not among them, but now I can finally add this to the collection. So all that I'm really missing at this point is his very first album, Brand New Start. But anyway, this one is a great find. It's in very good condition. It has two of my favorite songs, the last two tracks, Praise Hymn, that's Hymn, as in, song hymn, and The Gift, tracks that kind of lead into each other, flow into each other. Two of my favorite Mylon Lefevre tracks. Those tracks got a lot of airplay back in the 80s when I was living in Houston and listened to KSBJ, the Christian radio station there. Those were played a lot, and that's where I first heard them. So this album's got a special place in my heart because of that. A couple other songs on here that I'm not as familiar with, but I do remember ones like The Power, Free Man, which I think was on the live album that preceded this album, which I do have. And then More of Jesus, My Heart Belongs to Him. Some of those I recognize, but I've listened to my favorite two tracks on here, but I haven't listened to the rest of the album yet. But it's in really good shape overall. There is a little bit of, there was some masking tape on here that I was actually able to peel off. It doesn't seem to have peeled anything up from the album art. and I hope some of that will wear off. But a number of the albums that I found obviously were from one person's collection because they had this masking tape on them. But most of them have come off just fine. It's a little bit of a pain, but other than that, they're in very, very good shape. The album plays well. So nice find, $2 for Mylon Lefevre and Broken Hearts More. All right, next up was another good sign when I found some Stryper. Now, this is not a full-length album. This one here is called Reach Out, and it's basically just a single or maxi single. It's a full-size, 12-inch vinyl album, but it's only got 2 songs on it. So side A has Reach Out, just like the title says. Side B has Together as One, which is actually, in small print here, says it's an edited version, so it's not even the full version of that. But also on side B is this interview with Robert and Michael Sweet from October 4th, 1985. So this is just a single that maxi single I didn't have in my collection. And again, for $2, I thought this would be pretty cool to have. It's got obviously a little more bent cover art and some ring wear. All of these have a little bit more wear on the cover art themselves, the covers, but the vinyl seemed to be in really good shape for almost everything I found. This one doesn't have a sleeve. I don't know if it originally did, but it doesn't have one. But the vinyl, again, is in good shape. I've at least played side A, Reach Out. I haven't played side B yet. But again, nice find for $2. Can't complain about finding Stryper for $2. Next up, another great find, at least as far as I'm concerned, a Phil Keaggy album, Love Broke Through. This was his album from 1976, one of his early albums, and I think really probably his first really, really great album as far as I'm concerned. This one has some wonderful, wonderful tracks on it, including the title track, Love Broke Through, and the opening track on side 2 is Time, very famous Phil Keaggy track. Got a great instrumental. It's almost a 7-minute song. Really, really cool to have this. I've wanted this one for a while. And again, this had some masking tape on it, which came off. Its cover's a little more worn and bent in places. But I've played tracks from both sides of the album, including Time and Love Broke Through. And both sides seem to be good. There's no skips or anything like that. So this also came with the original insert. So there's the insert sleeve. Came with the original sleeve, I should say. Side 1, side 2 there. Here's the vinyl. It looks a little more worn in places, but it's been playing fine. I'll probably do some more cleaning. I always do initial cleaning on all of them, but I'll do some more. And then the insert I mentioned earlier, which also has a little write-up on that side. So seems to have come with everything that originally came with the album. So again, nice $2 find. Can't complain about some classic Phil Keaggy. Love that album. I should mention too, I've got a lot of Phil Keaggy on vinyl already. All of them I think I've found at Half Price Books in clearance section. Well, maybe one wasn't in clearance. Most of them have been in clearance, which is always kind of a pleasant surprise. I found Underground. I've found Play Through Me. In fact, I have a couple copies of that now. The Wind and the Wheat. I've seen a lot of copies of Phil Keaggy's The Wind and the Wheat at Half Price Books. In fact, I found one this weekend too when I was looking, but I already had that, so I didn't pick up an additional copy of that. But anyway, a lot of Phil Keaggy's been able to find, and oftentimes in clearance. So kind of pleasant surprise to find this particular album, which is a little bit rare one to find. It's from 76, and it is one of his better-known albums. But cool find. I've also been going through collecting Sweet Comfort Band on vinyl. I've got all of their CDs. Most of them are remastered CDs. And I was starting to go through and collect their vinyl. I love the cover art on the Sweet Comfort Band albums. So I have everything except the first album, Sweet Comfort Band, I think self-titled basically, Hearts of Fire and Cutting Edge, the ones I lacked. Well, this weekend I found Hearts of Fire. So this was a nice, pleasant surprise again for, I believe this one might have actually been $5. I think this one wasn't $2 if I remember correctly now. But still, it's in very good shape. It actually had tape, clear tape all along the edges, which came up very easily. There may be a slight fading or discoloring along the edge where the tape was at, but it came up really easily, and I like it better without the tape. I guess it kind of preserved the edges a bit, but I prefer my album covers to be clean, always getting the price tags off and just making them look as clean as possible. But this one's in very, very good shape. I played the vinyl, all of side one last night, and it's in very good shape. It comes with the sleeve. The vinyl's in really good shape. So no complaints about this one. A very good find. So yeah, I think this one was $5. This one was a little bit more, but again, well worth it. Next up is Daniel Band on Rock, their debut album from 82, I believe it was. Yes, 1982. This is the original Lamb and Lion vinyl release. I actually have a copy of this already. Now this particular one, does not have the sleeve with it. Did not come with the sleeve. And it looks like it might have a few scuffs, but I played part of side one already, and there don't appear to be any skips or anything like that. So, but I need to play side two of this yet. But again, other than that, it seems to be in very good shape. There's no sleeve with it, but other than that, it's in good shape. So I've got 4 copies of this album already, actually. Another one, original Lamb and Lion, which has the sleeve and everything and is in very good shape. I think someone gave that to me, so it was a freebie. And then also I have 2 copies of the remastered vinyl from Girder or Retroactive, whoever put that out. So I've actually got a total of 4 copies of this. And I just picked this one up because, again, it was $2. I love Daniel Band. They're one of my all-time favorite bands. And, just cool when you find extra ones at an inexpensive price. It's a band I really like, and albums that are sometimes often hard to find. When I find one for $2, I'll grab it. So, all right, next up is another one of my all-time favorite bands, Whiteheart, and this is their very first album. I'm actually not a real big fan of the first 2 albums. I really came into Whiteheart for their 3rd album, which was Hotline, and I do have that one on vinyl. Which I'm very grateful to have. I have that one, and then Don't Wait for the Movie, I think, was the next one. I have that on vinyl. I have Freedom on vinyl, and I think that's it that I have on vinyl. But really wasn't planning on picking up the first 2 on vinyl, their first 2 albums. But again, this one was $2. It's in very good shape. I do remember a lot of songs off this album. Hold On, You're the One, He's Returning, Carry On. Some of those I remember. He's Returning got a lot of radio airplay back in the day. So I do remember that. I've got, fond memories of the album itself. It's just not as rock-oriented as they started to become, starting with Hotline. But still, $2, and I'm trying to collect Whiteheart vinyl, so I thought I'd go ahead and pick that up. At some point I may get Vital Signs. I probably have more that I like off this first Whiteheart album than Vital Signs. I love Vital Signs, the title track, title song. I think that was starting to show their hints of their rock sound a little bit. It's got that great acoustic lead in, and then it gets a little heavier rocking by the end of the song. So that one I love, and I love the album art on Vital Signs. But, again, Whiteheart is Whiteheart. They're good stuff, no matter what, even if they're a little mellower in the first couple albums. But it was really with Hotline that they started to capture my heart with their sound as well as their lyrics. All right, my next find is definitely my favorite find of the day or of the weekend. This is a band I was really not very familiar with at all. And this is the Alwyn Wall Band. The album was The Prize. This is from 1977. Alwyn Wall was an artist who was kind of famous in British circles, I guess. He was part of a duo band that he'd been a part of for a number of years before forming the Alwyn Wall Band. So he was well known in Britain, and then formed this band with largely a bunch of unknown musicians, I guess. And they put this sole album out. This was their only release, and it's a really, really good album. In fact, I'd say it's a very underrated album. It is just incredibly good. It's got these kind of Beatles vibes to it in some parts, even some Beach Boys influences, a lot of very good 70s rock and some pop in there too. It's a good album. I'm really surprised I haven't heard more about this. I've seen the album art before on, I think, some online Christian, best of lists. In fact, I've got one article pulled up here. I'm going to read something from here in just a sec. But it's really, really good. They only did this one album, and then Alwyn Wall went on and did a solo album that was produced by Larry Norman, which that one I need to pick up now too. Great music on here. Side 1, Fly Me, the opening track, is this great, tight, little catchy 3-minute opening tune. Dreams on Sand, the second track. You remember at the beginning I said I had my lyric of the day. It's from this album. It's from that song. So that's an Alwyn Wall Band song lyric from the song Dreams on Sand. And let me jump over to this Greatest 70s Albums blogspot.com, which has the top 100 albums in CCM, in contemporary Christian music. This is from 2021, but he talks about the Alwyn Wall Band album here, The Prize, which came in at number 24 on their list. But in regards to this Dreams on Sand song, he says here, it's a little difficult to pinpoint just exactly what makes this album so appealing. But if I had to pick one thing, it just might be the songwriting. Wall may be one of the finest songwriters of his era that no one really knows, wrote blogger David Lohman. He had an uncanny knack, especially on The Prize, this album, for writing a melody that conveyed the message of a song simply and memorably. Lohman added that, in his opinion, Alwyn Wall's writing was equal to anything Larry Norman, Randy Stonehill, and Terry Taylor were writing at the time. And I'd agree. Having listened to this whole album last night, totally agree. Ray Mansfield from Real 80s CCM concurs. The standout aspect of this album is Alwyn's lyrics. He truly is one of the best writers of the time. A case in point is the song in the Two-Hole, second track here on the album. It's a 5.5-minute rock ballad titled Dreams on Sand. After digesting lyrics like these, we should have known that Alwyn would eventually end up a pastor. And here's some of the lyrics that they wrote here, including the one that I highlighted at the top. But faith is a rocket ship climbing far above the stars, and doubt is a submarine going down. Every man must bear his own scars that life's going to bring him from time to time. And life's no children's game we play. Even children have to grow someday. It's worth too much to throw away. Catching your dreams may take a lifetime, but losing may only take one day. All of us seem to spend too much time building dreams on sand, there's that lyric, and see them falling from our hand, upsetting everything that we have planned when we build our dreams on sand. So I love that. That's why that's my lyric of the day, because I think Alwyn's writing is really good and rich, and I agree with their assessment here. It's just a great, great album lyrically and musically. Good 70s rock. So if you can find this album, again, this was a $2 find for me. Wasn't real familiar with it, but again, because I recognized the album cover, I was like, oh yeah, I've seen that, but I don't really know about it. For $2, I'll pick it up and try it. Love it. Find of the day right here. $2 for the Alwyn Wall Band, The Prize. Great album. Okay, I got 5 more albums I'm going to go through kind of quickly because these are ones that I wouldn't necessarily have picked up had they been, more than $2. These were just $2 finds. I'd already found most of these other ones, and as I was digging through, these other ones came up, and they're not necessarily top picks for me. They're probably more second or third tier picks, but again, for $2, I was like, well, these are vinyl finds. Almost all of them are out of print, of course, so, to find them, I thought, again, I'll pick them up. First one is Sheila Walsh, Don't Hide Your Heart from 1985. This one actually still had the wrapping on it, the cellophane wrapping on it. It wasn't sealed, it was open, but it did have that on it, but I took it off because that sometimes traps dirt and moisture and stuff under there. So I'm going to put another protective cover on this later. But, it's in very good shape because of that, the cover art was very well protected. And it's kind of like brand new. It's got the insert with it and the vinyl. There isn't a a sleeve. I don't know if there was. Some albums did not always have sleeves. But this was Sheila Walsh back in the day, from what did I say, 85, I think it was, back in the day, and probably one of her, heavier, more contemporary sounding albums. Although there's a lot of mellow stuff on here too, but it's got very definitely an 80s sound to it. I'm not a huge Sheila Walsh fan, but I do like her stuff, and if there was one to pick up, I think it'd be this one. So I'm glad to have found it for $2 and in such great condition. Next up is Kenny Marks, Right Where You Are. This one's in a little rougher shape. Again, another $2 find. It's got some bends up here on the cover, a little bit of ring wear on the back and the like. And this one has a few skips and scratches on it that I don't know whether I can really clean it up enough to get it to play completely well. But a couple of the tracks are just fine, but a number of the tracks have some skips on them. So this one may have been the lesser find as far as being in good shape. But again, this is an album. I liked the opening track on this. I heard a lot back in the day, the title track, Right Where You Are. Got a lot of airplay on Christian radio back in the day. This was from 84. And there were a couple others on here too. But as I listened to it, I was like, I actually like the sound of this. He's mellower than what the cover might lead you to believe. I think he's really a rocking guy. Not too many real rockers on here. It's mellower, but it does have a nice sound, and his lyrics are pretty good too. Side 2 opens with this song, Growing Up Too Fast. Interesting thing about that is that was actually the first of, I think, 4 songs that involved these 2 characters he wrote about. Johnny, and I forget the girl's name, but it was about a guy and a girl, and kind of chronicles their life's journey across 4 songs. First song was on this album, and I think there was 1 or 2 on one of the follow-up albums, and then a 4th song on probably the album after that. So across, I think, 3 albums and 4 songs, he chronicled these 2 characters. In this one, Growing Up Too Fast, it's just talking about these young kids having to grow up too fast, and they don't even meet. And then I think in the next song, they meet, she gets pregnant, and their life is drastically changed, of course. The 3rd song on, I think that same album, I'm not sure which album that is, but I think he's like a deadbeat dad or something like that. And then the 4th song, I think, has to do with forgiveness. But anyway, it's kind of interesting in that he wrote about these 2 characters across 4 songs, across multiple albums. Just kind of unique aspect there. But it started on this album here. So anyway, Kenny Marks, kind of interesting. Not a huge fan, but I do remember listening to him a bit back in the day. Next up, another artist that I'm not super into, but Michael Card, his Scandalon album, again from the 80s. I'm not sure, but I'm amazed how many of these albums did not put the year on the back. But anyway, I think it was mid-80s or maybe 87, something like that. But Michael Card, more of a mellower guy, acoustic sounding, but he has some interesting, I like his vocals a lot, and he does have some interesting nuances to his music, some different instrumentation sometimes. I like his use of the acoustic guitar in a lot of his songs, so it's kind of cool. Scandalon is the 2nd album in a trilogy of albums, of which I'm more familiar with the final album. I think it's called The Final Word. And there's a song off of that called Spirit of the Age, which is probably his heaviest sounding song. Had a lot of energy to it. And he has more of a little bit of rock voice to it, I guess you could say, rock vocals to it. I'm most familiar with that one. Although Scandalon, the title track here from this album called Scandalon, got a lot of radio airplay back in the day too. So kind of glad to have this one. I started listening to it and I was like, oh, there's some stuff I do like off of here. Again, there's a lot of mellow stuff too. But kind of neat, and I think I will go in search of the 3rd album of this trilogy. I'm not familiar with the 1st album at all. I don't even remember the title of it, but maybe I'll end up picking up the whole trilogy. Interesting artist. I think Catholic, if I remember correctly. Not positive, but I think so. But anyway, neat album. All right, next up, second to the last album is Keith Green's Songs for the Shepherd. This one is from 1982. Keith Green, of course, great Christian music writer. This album really is more of 12 songs of praise and worship. So I think these are all pretty much hymns that he put his spin on. There may be some original songs here as well. I'm not entirely sure, but definitely more of a mellower, praise and worshipy type album. My favorite album of his, which I've already got on vinyl, is I think For Those Who Have Ears to Hear. I believe that was his debut album. Not positive, but that one's my favorite. I mean, every song on that one is just great. So this one isn't necessarily a big favorite of mine, but Keith Green is good, and it's hard to go wrong. So I look forward to getting more familiar with that one. I've seen a lot of his albums lately at record shops in the clearance section. I haven't always picked them up because, again, my favorite is his first one, and I've got that one. But I keep running across them. So I've decided I'm going to go ahead and start picking them up because, again, especially when they're $1 or $2, it's hard to pass up. I usually see a lot of, Sandy Patty and some early Amy Grant in these clearance sections a lot. And I don't necessarily pick them up. I picked up a few of the Amy Grants, but, I'm not real big into Sandy Patty or things like that. Nothing against her, just not my style. And Keith Green's another one I'm starting to see a lot of, so I think I'll start picking those up. All right, my last album here for the day and that I found over the weekend is one that was very definitely just a spontaneous purchase, a spur-of-the-moment pickup, and that is this one here, Barry McGuire's Cosmic Cowboy. Not familiar with Barry McGuire's music much at all. I recognize his name from Christian music history circles. That he was, I don't know if you could say significant, but that he had a definite place in Christian music history. And that spacey cover art just kind of caught my eye. I thought, okay, for $2, I'll give this a shot and just see what he's like, because I'm not really familiar with him at all, other than by name. There are some interesting other artist names on here, like Abraham Laboriel that did bass on here, and then looks like Michael Omardian did some stuff on here. Synthesizer for one of the songs. So anyway, I thought I'd give it a shot. I have listened to a number of tracks on here already. It seems to be in good shape. I think the last track, on side 2, Face to Face, has kind of a better rock vibe to it that I really like. There are some mellower songs on here, but there are some intermittent, heavier songs, a couple rock-like songs. The opening track, Cosmic Cowboy, is kind of interesting. I'm going to have to kind of process the lyrics on some of this, see where he's coming from. There's a sleeve in here as well. So for $2, give it a shot. All right, y'all, so that's what I found. Just thought I'd give you a quick peek at some of the latest vinyl finds I've found, most of which were $2 a piece. Moral of this story is, especially if you've got a half-price books in your area, check those clearance sections. I'm always finding Christian music and a lot of good stuff in those clearance sections. And their stock changes. Anytime somebody brings new stuff in, you just never know what you're going to find there any day of the week. So pleasantly surprised by some good finds. I even found a Bertil Adin solo album called Cross the Border from 1984. I was so excited to find. He was from Adin Adal, and it didn't have a vinyl in it. It was just the cover, and it was in the clearance section. So I took it up to the desk, hoping at the checkout counter, hoping that they had it in the back, because a couple of the albums I got, you had to get the vinyl from behind the counter. So I was hoping this was one of them. It wasn't labeled that way. And I took it up, and the guy said, "Oh, yeah, no, this isn't one we have back here." He said it probably is gone, or, So I don't know if somebody stole it or if it got mixed up with another cover somewhere there in the clearance section. But so I was kind of bummed, lost out on that. But anyway, other than that, I got some really great stuff. Let me know in the comments below what you think about any of these albums or any of these favorites of yours. And, if so, what do you like about them? What are some finds that you've discovered lately? Do you go to Half Price Books? If so, let me know if you have good finds too in the clearance section. That's all I got for today, y'all. Go out and listen to some great Christian rock. And above all else, stay in God's Word. See you next time, y'all. Bye-bye.